You see, money is a tool.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people don't know how to effectively use that tool for the
Mm-hmm.
greater good.
Mm-hmm.
And not only for the greater good in the community, but for their own happiness.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you a story. I had a client who was a billionaire, most miserable person you'd ever meet in your whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a hoarding mentality, right? You can't get to $1 billion unless, well, most of the time, unless you're a hoarder, right? More, 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 more. Because life is short to get there that fast. You've really got to get down deep. And he couldn't spend money. I remember he got back from a vacation. I said, "How was your vacation to France?" He goes, "It was great." He goes, "You get great wines in the supermarket for $5. And I said, "Norman, you're 80 years old. It's time to buy the good wine." And I said, "Okay, in terms of estate planning, how are we going to give out this money?" He goes, "Well, I'm going to give it all away when I'm dead." And I said, "Why not give it away when you're alive? So that you can be honored, so that you can see the joy that this money will give to the community,
Mm-hmm.
right? You can see the smiles on the people's faces."
Mm-hmm.
No. So that's the difference in what I used to do to what I do today. And we come up with the most tax efficient way to give away your money. And I'm not saying all your money.
Mm-hmm.
We're not talking Gandhi stuff here.
Mm-hmm.
But it's, a small portion of your money so that you can enjoy the gift of giving while you're still alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and pretty much every study also shows very clearly that giving is a huge factor in how much happiness that you have as well. So they call it this was in the Book of Joy. They call it altruistic giving or altruistic reciprocal altruism, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
And they say that it shows up as early as 6 months. So if you give a bunch of toys to a 6-month-old and above, that they'll often opt for the ones that are like helpful because they actually experience happiness and joy from helping out mom and dad. So example, like a lot of little kids once they start walking is they like to clean. So they pretend vacuum and they pretend dust. And that's because well, yes, they see mom and dad doing it, but they also like know it's helpful and makes them, it makes them happy. So at the earliest of ages, there's that biological need in us, right? And then we also have this darker side that is like, well, what about me? And it's very, very ego driven. And it's like, again, like you said, that hoarding mentality of more, more, more. So it's like, well, which one is gonna win? And that's
Mhm.
the one that you feed, right? It's the
Yes.
one that you practice. So it's like
Yes.
the smallest opportunities for giving or helping someone else, like start there and then just figure out like how can I scale this is gonna make a huge difference. Um they also call it, the helper's high, which, like, releases
Yes.
endorphins. It's anti-aging. It's
Yes.
so good for you. So it's like if you need anything, money, like you said, to a point in the US, it's about $70,000, isn't gonna really do much. But if you give something, if you give whatever you have, like, whether it's, like, blankets to a dog shelter, you go and you buy a sandwich for someone that's, like, homeless on the corner, something small is just gonna have such an impact on you and your longevity and your state of being. Um, what like something crazy happened somewhat recently. I was driving Whole Foods and there was this homeless man on the corner and there's usually like one or two that are there and you just like see them and it's just is, right? For some reason, I got like the number 25 in my head. It just like popped in. And I was like, well, that's weird. Maybe I'm like supposed to get a gift card or something and hand it to them and then they can go buy some groceries or something. So I'm in line and this woman was with her probably 1 year old and they were cashing out and she was very stressed and feel like frantic and just trying to pay. And I could tell that she was using an EBT card.
Mhm.
So they go, okay, well, that'll be $25. And when I heard that, I perked up because I was like, well,
Wow.
this is weird. And she goes, well, I just gave you the card. And they're like, well, there's a balance of $25. And you could tell like she was searching through her wallet, even though she knew there wasn't anything in there. And she looked at the cashier and she's like, well, I don't know what to do. And then the cashier was like, well, I don't know what to do. Let me see if I can talk to my manager. And I was like, I'll take it. And they both just looked at me shocked. And I was like, I'll take it. It's fine. Just like, I'll give you my card and whatever. And then she started crying and the cashier got emotional and I was getting emotional and I'm still getting emotional. And this was like a month or so ago. And I was like, so fortunate that like that turn of events happened, and it still trips me out because I'm like, I don't know, like I can't say that's a coincidence, right? But to get back to it, like there's not a lot that I've done for myself that made me as happy as that $25 purchase, right? Like I mean, I bought myself a horse, and that horse didn't make me as happy as giving the $25,
Fantastic.
you know?
That is fantastic.
So yeah, I mean, I challenge any of the listeners to do something small because you have no idea how it's going to make you feel and how it's going to affect somebody else.
You know, I'm the founder of the Happiness Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
And in the hall is Mother Teresa's Missionaries of Charity. We recognize, celebrate, and encourage people and organizations that make other people happy. It's my 501c3. And I contacted Mother Teresa's Missionaries of Charity in San Francisco, where they have a convent. And I told them that I would like to honor them and have them come out to Stanford University for a big annual gala event. And they said, well, we'll have to check with India. And they called me back and they said, India says it's a go, but we can't come to the event because we can't be photographed. And I said, okay. I said, when would you like me to come up there to give you the award? And so we set up a time and a date. My daughter at the time was 10 years old. And I went up there with the award and a check, and I wanted them to have a really good dessert. I have a sweet tooth, right? It's generational. I love it. Okay, I wish I didn't, but I did. Right? And so I said, I want these wonderful ladies to have a great dessert. And I wanted my daughter to see these amazing women who give their entire lives to the poor, to the unseen. So we go up there, and I found out that I was one of the few men ever allowed into the convent. And I gave the Mother Superior the cupcakes. And she said, oh, thank you, Michael. Our friends on the street will really enjoy these. Now, Candice, there are moments in one's life where just words will change your trajectory. It was in that moment when she said, our friends on the street, I started to see the unseen. I started to see that the people that I've been avoiding are my friends. So that launched my homeless outreach, which gives me some of the greatest joy. And one of my favorite stories from that is that through the outreach, I had been visiting with a young man on the street, my friend Zach, for about 6 months. And he always had a San Francisco Giants hat of some sort, something San Francisco Giants. And Zach was born without the ability to stand up. He's like a modern hunchback. He has to drag himself by the knuckles in order to go forward.
Oh, wow.
And I said, Zach, what are the desires of your heart? What are your dreams? And he said, my greatest dream is to meet the players of my favorite team, the San Francisco Giants. Now, the San Francisco Giants are in the Happiness Hall of Fame. And they had just come out to Stanford and they brought their 3 World Series trophies. And they talked about how they make people happy off the field through community outreach. I'm making a movie. I had already filmed them for the movie. And I called up the front office, which I had made a great relationship with. And I said, there's a friend of mine, Zach. Can you make his dream come true? And they said, Mike, not only will we make his dream come true, we will have you guys come up during our premiere game of the year against our hated rivals, the LA Dodgers, because there's quite a competition between the two cities. and you can take up Zach for batting practice. And I said, oh my gosh, that's amazing. I pick up Zach, put him in my car. We go up to the Giants. They meet us with 2 bags full of swag, hats, scarves, everything. He's just amazing. We set up his wheelchair. I'm wheeling him out onto the field. And he says to me, Mike, this is one of the greatest days of my life. And I said, Zach, this is one of the greatest days of my life.